Hello and what's up everyone, Thunderbob here, and tonight I'm checking out some more Diablo 2 Resurrected. I am checking out a Hydra Orb Sorceress tonight. This is a build actually that I had back in the day. I had a lot of fun with it. Maybe isn't quite top tier, but I think it can be effective for certain specific runs. You may not realize it, but Hydra actually can put out a decent amount of damage. So you can see I've got level 46 Hydra here, pretty high level Hydra, and this build I do have Hydra and Fireball and Firebolt and Fire Mastery maxed, 1 point in the prerequisites. Lightning, I've got Telekinesis, Teleport. Cold, I've got all prerequisites, 20 in Frozen Orb, 1 in Cold Mastery. So Frozen Orb is not getting the benefit of its synergies, but it's still doing 800 damage at this pretty high gear level. And the gear I'm running, Death's Fathom, Nightwing's Veil, Mara's Kaleidoscope, Enigma, Spirit, Sandstorm Trek, SOJ, Arachnids, SOJ, Mage Fist, bunch of really good skill charms, resistance life charms, max resistance, pretty much just running Vitality right now. Now, just to do some armchair math here, Hydra at this level does close to 5,000 average damage, maybe a little above 5,000 average damage. But what you gotta think about with Hydra is it is attacking with 3 heads, and it will attack, from my understanding, 8 times before they disappear. So if you take 5,000, you multiply it by 3, that's 15,000 damage. It fires 8 times, that's 120,000 damage for 42 mana. And if you can get 5 of these up, which is the maximum you can have, that is around 600,000 damage, if my math is correct. Now, you have some issues. Trap assassins have pretty high damage out as well, but they benefit from the pierce that Lightning Trap has, and also from the Corpse Explosion. This is a single target skill. You kind of have to use it in the right way, and there's also a lot more fire immunes, so that's one reason why Hydra I think is used less than Trap Assassins, but I still like it a lot. So we are going to see how this does in players 8 Hell difficulty. And one kind of bad thing is Frozen Orb and Hydra share cooldown, so you can't just cycle back and forth. That would be too good, obviously. But predominantly you're going to be using Fireball and Hydra, and then anytime you run into Fire Immunes is when you're going to pull out your Frozen Orb. And unfortunately in Act 1 there are a lot of Fire Immune guys. This is still, I think, a fun build. I think there are some benefits that Trap has over this, but with the right gear and kind of the right setup, this can be quite an efficient build as well. And in kind of contrast this, I did a video recently with a full orb build. You can kind of look at this and see how like an unimproved orb does versus, using the non-synergized orb. One problem you run into also is your Hydra's auto-target. So they don't know to target the fire immune guys or, the non-fire immune guys. They're just gonna attack whatever is closest to them. Looking for that stairway down. I do have to mention, on the last video I talked briefly about how I had found someone to take on my dad's boat. My dad passed away, and I've been dealing with his effects for the last year or so. And he had this old boat in his backyard. And we used to go on an occasion, and I was afraid I was going to have to dispose of it. It's just in really, really rough shape. It's locked in a chain-linked backyard. And I finally found someone who actually was interested in buying it. And he intends to fix it up, but he's an older gentleman and he needed some help getting it out of the backyard. And this turned into like a 2-day, like 10-hour long excursion. As first we thought we just had to replace the wheels on this old trailer. And we got the wheels replaced, we got it all hitched up on his vehicle, we took down my chain link fence, and then the moment he was about to drive away, we realized that the axle had snapped. And yeah, so that was fun. We came back the next day, refreshed, and we replaced that axle, which was a new experience for myself. I've never done that. And about 3 hours later, he was on the road with a new boat, and hopefully in a few months I'll get some pictures of it in better shape, and maybe I'll even get to take it out on the water again. He said if he got fixed up, he would take me out, which would be amazing. I haven't been on that boat in 15 years, I think. So that's my good story for the day. It was tiring as hell, and that's where I've been the last couple days. But it's all done, and we'll have the house sold next week, and it'll be one more thing kind of off my back. Stiletto. I definitely feel like this build is not quite as fast as like a pure build based around, you know, completely orb or fireball or something. Like when I don't run into fire immunes, actually, I'd say it's pretty effective. But the fire immunes here are really slowing me down. And that's part of the problem with fire is there are so many immunes. Like you really have to plan out where you want to go. And unfortunately, I'm stuck with Act 1 and 2 at the moment, which definitely limits, you know, the farmable areas. But the Hydra really does rip through the non-fire immune guys. So when you get up to like level 40 something skills, I think almost any build can be effective. So this is definitely a very high gear sorceress. So this is kind of a, I don't know if I'd call it a novelty build, but it's definitely like, it wouldn't be probably a first build. Or if you wanted to be, like, you're probably going to be, like, farming Mephisto for the most part, which this build does pretty well, actually. But you're mostly going to be, like, teleporting to Mephisto using the moat trick with the Hydras. It's actually quite a good boss ability because you can just fire and forget. You kind of drop 2 or 3 Hydras, teleport, drop 2 or 3 Hydras. I'll see if I can kind of demonstrate that here. I really wish those were on separate timers. That's like the one thing, really. Because if you could just drop your Hydra and then switch to Orb and back and forth, I think it would be really effective. Look how quick these guys can rip through her, too. Like 10 seconds and she's dead. Okay, so I ripped through Andariel pretty decently in player 8. I just want to show you, like, the difference, like, player 1 difficulty. And it's like, the damage on this does scale really nicely. And we'll just rip through the lower difficulties, like you wouldn't believe. Check out the Sanctuary. Oop. Until you run into the fire immunes, but Affinity can mostly take care of those. And if you can get them all coming in a straight line at you, it's useful, so you don't lose any of your shots. And there's that issue where the fire immunes are absorbing all the shots from my Hydras. That's one of the nice things about the trap is it's got Pierce, so it really doesn't matter. But here, you do run into the issue of the fire immunes eating up all your damage. I think there's a lot of fire immune down here. I like the look of this area, though. Those are fire and cold. That's like the worst possible combination for me. I do like Hydra a whole lot, but immunities kind of ruin it. But if you want to build where you don't have to kind of micromanage your attack as much, like you can kind of just fire and then keep moving, and if you're fighting something you know, without a lot of fire immunes, like maybe like the ancient tunnels or something, it works quite well. Kind of just drop a Hydra or two, keep moving. Not cool. Fire immunes. Once the fire immune are done, it goes pretty quick though. They just pop those guys. You do run into an issue where you can kind of like get stuck a little bit, where it's like you really only have, you know, a single target ability. So if you got a lot of guys coming at you, you have to be ready to teleport out of there, or use Frozen Orb to slow them down, or, you know, drop a couple Hydras back up. That's why it's good to kind of lead with the Hydras. I feel like I'm showing the Frozen Orb more than the Hydra now. Okay. I think I might end it here. I just wanted to spend a couple minutes showing off a build I really enjoyed in the day, and it's maybe not the most effective. It can dish out a whole lot of damage, but you're pretty limited in what you can fight with your primary ability at least. And in a lot of ways, I think Trap Assassins are probably better. They have more utility between, you know, the block they get from their claws, and from Death Sentry being able to explode enemies, and from, you know, Fade at burst to speed. They get a lot of utility. The one thing that they don't have, of course, is teleport. And I feel like until you get Enigma, Sorceress kind of reigns supreme. But when you get Enigma, I would say Trap Assassin is pretty much better in my mind than the Hydra Sorceress. You know, if you've got any thoughts on that, if there's any way you can get the Hydra Sorceress to work as well, let me know. I feel like I'm using pretty close to the best gear you can for this specific build, and just the lack of Pierce and the amount of fire immunes you run into does kind of limit it here. I'm going to end it now. If you enjoyed this video, I do have a whole playlist full of other Diablo 2 Resurrected content. If you want to check it out, please do, and if you like what you see, consider subscribing. I would definitely appreciate it, and thank you for watching.